Um, hey, we've got some people to talk to. Let's maybe wait a minute. Kay, you're getting ready for Comic-Con. What's going on there?
Uh, we are going to be, we've got some signed posters for Amphibia that we're very excited about. We got permission from Disney to print these posters, which they're so cool. Disney made them. We just put like a little ad for our book at the bottom. We handed those out at Anime Expo and they just vanished. They disappeared. And we managed to get the creator of the show to sign 100 of them. So we're going to give a couple of those out at our panel. And then give out the other posters, the non-signed ones at the booth, which is going to be pretty fun. We have a 25th anniversary look back panel, which is going to be kind of cool about like the history of the company, how we started, where we are now.
Cool.
We're going to be announcing the Victory for Ukraine graphic novel that's coming out.
Oh,
this will
yeah.
be the first time. Yeah, first time we're announcing it publicly now that we've got some interiors to show.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we've got a Love panel, which is basically just a discussion about queer representation and diversity within the manga and graphic novel comic scene, which just ends up being kind of a conversation with the audience, which is usually pretty fun.
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Should we get started?
Absolutely.
I think so. All right. So Kay, you want to introduce yourself to everybody, and I can be in control of the slides, and you can just tell me when to move on.
Sounds good.
I will say that Kay and I and Julie and Julia, I'm sorry, and one of the buyers from Kinokuniya did a similar presentation at PNBA and MPIBA in the fall. Those were the only two in-person regionals last year, and it went over really well, and we had a like really lively discussion. And beyond sort of these vocabulary words that Kay is going to go through with us here in a minute, we talked a lot about things like where to shelve manga in your store, and how to deal with sort of the different age levels, which you know we're happy to talk about maybe after Kay does her manga 101 here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course I'll be taking questions from people as well. So if you've got any questions, I'll also have my email at the end as well. You can feel free to email me with any questions you think of like 2 days later. All right, so let's, I'm, of course, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Kay Winters. I sort of head the marketing department at Tokyo Pop. Been with Tokyo Pop since 2016, but I have been reading manga since I was but a wee teenager myself. And it encouraged me to go and learn Japanese and spend some time in Japan as well. So I'm a bit of an informal expert at the very least on it. And yeah, obviously it's, as you guys have seen, there's a big boom right now in manga sales. So it's key for us to help you guys understand manga, where to place it, how to sell it, how to talk to the customers, and how to make buying choices based on what's selling for you. So first off, let's go to the first slide. And we have a little, what is manga? Which is kind of an important question to ask. I'm sure some of you are wondering that. Manga as a word literally means comic book in Japan. Last time I was in Japan, when I told them I worked for a manga publisher in the US, every single person said, oh, like Spider-Man, which is apparently the go-to in Japan, I guess, for American comic books, but it's just a word for comics. Whereas when we use it in English, it typically means this particular style of book that is black and white, that reads from right to left as opposed to left to right. It's a smaller trim size. It's usually about 5 by 7.5 inches. And it has very recognizable tropes and storytelling styles that are very unique to manga, that fans very much embrace and expect to see. You can also see, you may see the words manhwa show up, both pronounced the same, spelled slightly differently. Those are Korean and Chinese comics that are very, very similar influence, going to be laid out very, very similarly, and are also very popular right now. And you can see Hyperventilation is an example there. That's an 18 plus, actually full color manhwa that's coming out from us later this year. You may also know the word anime. Just to explain very quickly, anime is a shortened version of the word animation. So manga is the still images in the comic books. Anime is the animated version. They're very much tied in with one another. Frequently, a manga will get adapted into an anime, or an anime will then get a manga adaptation. If you get that pairing, that usually means higher sales. It usually means more eyes on the IP. It's kind of the golden ticket that everyone's looking for. And you can see now, anime is huge. You see it on Netflix. You see it on Hulu. It's at movie theaters now. And it's a really big deal. We've got an example there, Laughing Under the Clouds, which started as an anime that we picked up very recently. Okay, let's move on. So we're going to talk about sort of age ranges and audiences for a little bit here. This is a word you probably won't hear, but I wanted to go over it. Kodomo muke. Kodomo means child, and muke is sort of like means for. So these are essentially titles that are great for younger readers, that are going to be for your kids, maybe for your tweens. These are going to be age appropriate. They're going to have a lower reading level. They're going to have very mild fantasy peril, if anything. They're also really great for fussy readers, for teenagers who just don't want to read. We have a lot of Disney manga. We have a license with Disney, and that's particularly good as well for young readers, because it'll be an adaptation of, for example, Toy Story or WALL-E or Princess of the Frog. These are stories that kids already know. They recognize the characters. They know what the plot beats are going to be. And they may see their favorite characters and be willing to actually pick up a book. So these are a really great entry point. And honestly, a lot of adult readers love these too. They're generally really cute books. Fox and the Little Tanuki is a really good example of that. It's kind of a found family story. It's got cute fuzzy animals. It's very easy to pick up. It's very easy for anyone to read. So that's a really good example of Kodomo Muke titles.
Number 5 just came out, yeah.
It did. It just came out. Yeah.
I was going to say also that Chris Conti loves the Donald Duck manga.
That was so cute.
He talks about it all the time.
We just released one called Donald Duck Visits Japan, which is about the 3 caballeros, if you guys remember them, all getting sent to Japan on a business trip from an American corporation and learning about Japanese culture. It's just a one-shot. It's so incredibly cute and really fun. A lot of these books for the little kids are just really, really fun, really cute books. So moving on, we also have Shoujo, which literally just means young girl. Now, of course, we're getting into some very like sort of gendered language here. Japan still very much follows this pattern, and you will see certain trends. We see readers of, you know, all kind of demographics picking up these books. So don't feel like you have to tie yourselves into, this is a girl book that is for girls. This is a book that is for anyone who wants to read it. But typically, any title that is a shoujo title is going to have slightly softer artwork. It's probably going to have more emotional themed storytelling. You're going to have a lot of character development. Very frequently has a strong female protagonist, which is great. And you can see genres within shoujo along the lines of what we call slice of life, which is just sort of like daily living in whatever situation that might be. Magical girl, so think Sailor Moon or something along those lines. Fantasy and romance you see a lot of. So shoujo reading ages are typically 6 to 15, kind of tops out around there, but they tend to be pretty approachable. And then we have shonen. Now this is typically, if you guys have seen titles from Viz, this is typically what Viz specializes in. These are titles that tend to be aimed at young male readers. They tend to be, they 99.9% of them are just the hero's journey in a new wrapper. Very much about a young teenage boy who maybe doesn't have his parents, who suddenly finds out he's the chosen one and has to go out with his best friend to go on a journey to save the world. It's a pattern that has proved to be very popular with fans. We don't typically do a lot of shonen. We have an example here, Goldfish, which is a really great 3-volume series. We do have a few like this. These tend to be action adventure stories, a lot of sci-fi. You'll see some sports stuff in there as well, like Haikyuu, I know is very popular. Yuri on Ice, these are all shonen titles as well. And again, these tend to stick around the 6 to 15 age range. And so when people graduate from shoujo, they tend to start reading josei titles. Josei just means young woman. And this is typically for readers who are 16 plus. This goes all the way through into adulthood. And so you will have sort of older stories. They might focus on things like office life, what it's like to go to college, what it's like to have your first job, things that are more like adult themes. A lot more emotional storytelling. I've got Double here as an example, which is a title that I think is absolutely fantastic, set in the world of the theater. And so there's a lot of crossover with like Shakespeare and various other theatrical playwrights from around the world. It's about the difficulties of navigating a friendship while you're both in competition for the same roles. For plays, that kind of thing. So it tends to appeal a lot more to an older audience. It tends to have a more advanced reading age and more age-appropriate protagonists as well. Okay, and next we have seinen, which is the sort of the graduation from shonen. So these are typically written with an older male audience in mind. Typically, when you get to josei and seinen, the line between themes becomes a little more blurry. You will have people of, all demographics reading these. But these tend to have a lot of action, drama, high stakes peril. You might see there's a very famous manga series called Monster, which is actually about a serial killer. You will see these very sort of more grown-up themes, more advanced storytelling. Assassin's Creed Dynasty is a really good example of this. For those of you who are familiar with Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed historical fantasy video game series, this one is an original story set in ancient China. So it deals with a lot of ancient Chinese politics, invasions, themes of war. It's a lot more grown up and for older readers. Okay, and then we're going to look at some more genres here. So boys love. This is, I'm not going to lie, this is our bread and butter. This is sort of what we specialize in, what sells the best for us. We have found that fans can never get enough of this. We actually just came back from Anime Expo, and we frequently have people come to our booth and just go, I have that one, I have that one, I have that one, I have that one. And finally find one title that they didn't have and just immediately grab it and buy it. Didn't even read the back, just wanted it. Boys love, for those of you who are unaware, is generally men loving men relationships. They're actually very frequently written by female authors. So they tend to have a very strong focus on emotion and character growth. But these can range. We have a title, The God and the Flightless Messenger, that is rated 13 plus. I think there might be a kiss on the cheek in it at the most. And then we have something like Dekoboko Bittersweet Days, which is a fully mature 18 plus title that has some graphic erotic content in it. So we have a little bit of something for everyone. We try to have a nice selection and a nice range of titles. We're very clear on the back of our books what the age rating is, and we have content warnings on the back of our books too. So we've got a couple that are coming out soon that deal with things like sex work. There may be some darker themes in there of, like, I don't know, stalking, for example, or something that we want people to be aware of before they make a purchase. So we're very, very clear on having those kinds of content warnings on the back, so you can always find that information Thank you, Julia. One thing that we've actually started doing now is through our Onyx feed, we are writing when a title is 18 plus, we write this book is contains mature themes and is not meant for anybody under 18 years of age. And if it contains darker themes, we will also list them and have the content warnings in the description that will go out to retailers as well. So hopefully we all honestly just want you guys to have a good experience, and we want the fans to have a good experience too. So we try to be as clear as we can about that. Okay, and now we have Girls Love. So Girls Love is very much the same. It's women loving women. There is, in the same way that Boys Love is frequently written by a female author, there's actually a lot of Girls Love written by male authors. That's not the kind of stuff that we publish. We find it can get a little fetishy, I guess, you know, not to yuck anyone's yum, but we like to pick up stories that male gazy, thank you, that was the word I was looking for. We like to find stories that resonate for a queer audience who will read a book and go, ah, yes, I see my experience in here. I feel like I can relate to this in some level. You know, so we try to pick books that have a really strong story. A good example here is Sirius Twin Stars, which is actually by a Spanish creator. She's already published Alter Ego, if you're familiar with that one. Those have both done very, very well. Well, Alter Ego has done very, very well for us. We're anticipating that Sirius will also do very well. So yeah, we try to have a little sample of everything. Okay. You may or may not have heard the word isekai, but you have, if you deal with manga, you've almost definitely seen it around. Isekai, which literally means otherworld, is a fantasy genre where the story's protagonist ends up finding themselves, either they die and when they're reincarnated, they're in another world, or they step through a portal, or somehow Alice through the Looking Glass style end up in another world, usually going from a modern world to a fantasy world, sometimes from one fantasy world to another. There's all kinds of genres within this. There's romance, there's action adventure, you'll see the horror, you'll see all those crossovers there. The one way to spot an isekai title is that it will usually be ridiculously long. We have one, for example, that is, it's going to be coming up in a little bit, called I was reincarnated as the villainess in an otome game, but the boys love me anyway, exclamation point. And that's not unusual. There you go. There it is right there. So we have a few isekai titles right now. Her Royal Highness seems to be angry as one of them. It's been doing very well for us. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one because it ties in. So we have otome and harem. Harem was a genre that was very, very popular, particularly in the 90s, where typically a male protagonist would find himself surrounded by women that were throwing themselves at him. And it was usually a comedy. Yeah, I see Julia pulling a face there, and that is absolutely the correct face to be pulling. It was not great, and it was not handled delicately. What's really interesting is that female creators have taken that concept and have completely revamped it now and subverted it into something called otome, which is actually typically a story where a female protagonist is surrounded by men. And it's usually done in dating games. You'll see a lot of mobile dating games. They're absolutely huge now. You should have seen the booths at Anime Expo and the screaming when the voice actors came on the stage. It was wild. But to take the example here, yes, very much, Chris. I was reincarnated as the villainess is literally about a girl who dies in an accident, and when she wakes up, she is the bad guy, the antagonist within her favorite dating video game. And she knows that if the boys fall in love with her, then the protagonist will lose. So she's trying to fail the game, but she's too nice. And all the boys keep wanting to date her anyway, and she's screwing up the game. So it's kind of a fun, cute romance story. I believe this one is rated 13 plus, so it's just like a cute comedy fantasy romance, but there's a lot of these out there now. Okay, let's go on to Slice of Life. So I mentioned this earlier. Slice of Life is just grounded, relatable stories, which is weird because some of them are fantasy. we had a collector's edition Aria the Masterpiece, which is set on Mars with gondoliers. But weirdly, it was just about their day-to-day life in this weird world, and it was cute. Julia, same. Our Not So Lonely Planet travel guide, guys. I cannot recommend this title enough. It's just about a couple from Japan who are traveling the world, and they decided when they get back home to Japan, they're going to get married. And it is just, they're traveling the world. They're eating. Thank you, Amanda. That's great. They're eating food. They're meeting people. They're learning about the cultures they're in. They're learning about themselves. They're sort of getting over their own internalized homophobia and problems in their families. And it's just a really lovely, sweet queer series. I absolutely love this one. I think the third volume is coming out very soon. And last but not least, we have Idol here. So I'm sure you are all very well aware of how big K-pop is right now and how it's taking over the world, particularly Twitter. So again, to go back to the 90s, it started with J-pop. J-pop was like the thing back then. And it's never stopped being popular in Asia. So there's a lot of idol manga, which is usually about a group of youngsters trying to make it, break it in the world. No, you're doing it right. If you're not running across those people, Amanda, you're absolutely doing Twitter right. So this Ulsan Idol as an example there is a great one because it's about a bunch of middle-aged men all trying to become idol stars. So it's a little bit of a subversion on the genre. Skullface Bookseller Honda said, that's a really good question. It's educational in the sense that it is very much about the publishing world and the bookselling world. I mean, not gonna lie, as someone who works in the industry, I thought it was absolutely fascinating and couldn't get enough of it. And I'm sure you guys would actually probably agree. I don't know how educational it would be to somebody who's not within the industry, though. Entertaining for sure. But I'm not sure about educational for that one. But yeah, that's what I had presented for you guys or set up for you guys today. Chris, did you want to add anything on the end there?
I do, yeah. I was just gonna let Margaret share screen because she has your page on Edelweiss pulled up, and I just wanted to show how everybody how great it looks. And there's the age range distinctions, there's seasonal catalogs. It's just really great. Margaret, will you go to just like their publisher page? Sorry, go to publishers. No, to the left, yeah, and then type in Tokyo Pop. There you go. So yeah, they've just maybe sort it by newest. Then you'll see, yeah, date added, yeah, or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, they've got the seasonal stuff, and then if you scroll down, there should be also all the age rangey stuff. Is there subject? I can't remember if there's different subject matters, but anyway.
We do along the top, we actually, and again, I'm always looking for feedback on whether it's the right way to do it or not, but if you can see there along the top feature catalogs,
there you go.
I've got them all separated there by imprint, by age rating, by date of publication. I try to keep it as organized as possible so that it's very easy to find what you need to find.
Yeah, those look great. And we've got bestseller lists to indies. We're pretty good about knowing which titles, are standalone or which are from a series. And so, yeah, if anybody needs to know like what's selling at the indie level, we've got that for you and can send those around. So does anybody have anything they want to ask, Kay, before we move on to the new and warehouse portion of our day? Anybody? Well, so Kay's put her email there in the chat should you want to reach out, but you're also welcome to ask any of the sales reps on this call.
I'll
All
also
right.
just say that Kay does an email every month that I encourage everyone to sign up for, that has some of the PDF downloads of the different books. And so that's really, if you have staff that love manga and want books before they're out, sometimes we can't get them before they're in the warehouse. I mean, we can't get them before they're in the warehouse. So, you can always have her sign you up for that email that she sends out. It's really helpful.
I'm actually going to type, there you go. That is the direct link that you can use to sign up to that newsletter. Yeah, we try to have all the info in there. That'll be where we will put, eventually we're hoping to be able to do some free swag. So sort of swag signups like, oh, I'd like to order 50 bookmarks or something like that. We'll eventually have that setting up as well. And that'll all be announced through that newsletter. So please feel free to sign up. Please feel free to get in touch if you've got any questions. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help.
And hopefully Kay will be joining us again at the regionals this fall. I don't know if you are made decisions about all those yet, but we're hoping you'll come to the ones you weren't able to go to last year because they weren't in person.
Yeah, I'm still staring into the black abyss of San Diego Comic-Con for next week,
Yeah,
and that is
right.
entirely where my brain is right now. But after that, we will be talking with Ange and Lauren about those opportunities.
Oh, good. It looks like, Jill, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's for this part or later or whatever, but we don't really have a very big manga section at my store at all. It's just a few titles mixed in with graphic novels, but we're considering, really doing an experiment and creating a decent sized section. What do you kind of feel like is the minimum size to get customers' attention? And like, I'm really looking for some guidance on, how to organize things. Like, I can't even, do you organize it by the series name, by the author? Like, what do people do, like, when they're shelving things and organizing?
Who wants to answer that? I mean, I'm happy to. I mean, I will. It seems like when people are first dipping their toes in the water, they want to go with something that is maybe under like 3 or 4 volumes in the series to see what the reaction is. And I would say the genres that Kay talked about, Tokyo Pop has stuff within all of those, and so I think it's good to get like a good spread of age range, and yeah, maybe peruse that bestseller list. Which I'm happy to send you, Jill.
Yeah, and just from a manga fan perspective, fans are typically very savvy as to what publishers are releasing what titles. And a lot of this is very much a holdover from the way they do it in Japan. But if you go into a Japanese bookstore, everything is set up by, this is from this publisher, and then they're done in alphabetical order and so on and so forth. And so publishers have very distinct branding. You'll notice that with our Tokyo Pop titles, we always have what we call our brand bar running down the side here. And we always have very consistent spines as well. And you will see most manga publishers do the same thing. So fans are typically looking for that first and then looking for the title within that second.
Okay, and then, so after you organize it by publisher, when you organize it alphabetically, is that by the series title or by the author?
Usually by series title from what I've seen.
Okay, will you show that the age range stuff? Because it's just, I think everyone's always so surprised at how like easy it is. It's not like within the copy, it's actually like a little icon.
Yeah, this one's very visual on there. So we have OT here, which is older teen, and then underneath we do have like exactly what that means. Here are our content warnings. So here it says violence, adult themes, and nudity. And then right here, this is a little panel that says what genre it is. So that might say fantasy. For this one, it says boys love. So this should give you sort of a little, we always place this on the back. It's always in sort of the same space next to the barcode there. So you'll always know where to look for it. And that gives you the extra info on top of the back cover copy.
I will say one of the things that I've heard a lot just from indies is like, oh, I don't know about manga, just there's a comic book store around the corner and we don't want to like bogart those sales, and inevitably I go into that comic book store and it's 100% like superhero comics. I mean, a lot of them do carry manga, but I don't feel like there is the same kind of representation that Tokyo Pop has. The diversity and so yeah, I would really, if that is important to you, I would encourage you to, you know, look at what Tokyo Pop has.
I also want to add just one more thing, which is that I know a lot of the manga publishers that aren't Tokyo Pop have had some supply chain issues. And what I have found working with Tokyo Pop is that we're not having as many with them. Sometimes books sell out and they're delayed for a little bit, but usually by the time they sell out, Tokyo Pop has already ordered a new print run and we're just waiting on those to get here. So the supply chain issues have been less with Tokyo Pop. So just an FYI, I know that scares some buyers off from having bigger manga sections because they have books that are successful and then they can't get them for like months and months and months. And we can usually tell you, you know, it's coming, like it might be out for a few weeks, but then it'll be here and you know, you'll get your book. So just an FYI on that.
And also to add on to what Julia said, a lot of manga series, particularly in Japan, they can go on really long. Like I think Bleach went for 72 volumes or something crazy like that. I think One Piece went for 100. I mean, they're absolutely wild. And of course, what happens when volume 17 sells out and then you can't get that one anymore? We try to go for smaller series. For the most part, most of our series are like, we've got a lot of standalones, particularly in the boys' love. We typically go for 3 to 4 volumes. I think the longest running ones that we have right now are Futaribeya and Konohana Kitan, which are both up to around 12 volumes, which we didn't know. When we first licensed them, they hadn't been finished. We didn't realize they were going to go that long. But that's like an absolute outlier for us. We try to keep them smaller because it is easier to keep those in print and makes it a lot easier for you guys to keep them on your shelves as well.